Hey Justin, let's combine our keys to unlock the Mortal Kombat Battle of the Realms review.
There's really no need to do that. I mean, this key is now part of my soul forever.
Because I guess you just stood around and let rubble crush you.
Fatality.
Might as well. I can teleport out of there at a moment's notice. No problem.
That's what I thought he did, but according to Battle of the Realms, he didn't teleport out of there. So, what did you think overall of Battle of the Realms?
You know, they deviated a lot from the source material. It was not the direction that I was expecting it to go in, but honestly, it was a fun adventure. I mean, the Mortal Kombat characters were portrayed the way they should be. I thought that the relationship between Johnny Cage and Sonya was perfect. I like the way they focused more on like the good guys this time, but they still managed to make it about Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they had a different score to settle this time around, and they had to work out their differences, and I just thought they tied a lot of different things together in a very nice way. Was it perfect? No, but I thought it was a fun adventure overall.
I was more disappointed with this one than you were, for sure, because I really like Scorpion's Revenge. I thought Battle of the Realms got a bit cluttered with all the stuff they were trying to jam in here. I've just really wanted to see a proper Mortal Kombat II adaptation for a long time, and the closest thing that's ever really adapted it was another video game, Shaolin Monks. That was the most interesting alternate take on Mortal Kombat 2's story. But I think Shaolin Monks shows that there's a lot to do within what was going on during Mortal Kombat 2. And there's like a bunch of interesting locations and Outworld and stuff, and you can have them jumping through portals even, going back and forth from Outworld to Earthrealm. This movie doesn't do any of that. Like, a large portion of it just takes place at the Shao Kahn Arena, and that was not super interesting visually for the whole thing. Like, you want the final matches taking place there, but vary it up for some of the other stuff.
They could have had more settings, I guess, but I'll be honest, one of my favorite scenes in one of the settings, they showed the Lin Kuei headquarters as it appeared in Mortal Kombat X. That was the only game where the Lin Kuei headquarters looked quite like that, and that's how they had it. And it was so cool. I mean, that scene with Sub-Zero and Smoke, and they were establishing their friendship, it almost gave me, like, that Defenders of the Realm vibe, you know? Old friends never die. But in the modern MK setting, it was like a great blend of the old and the new come together.
The Sub-Zero and Scorpion story, I thought, was the strongest thing going on here story-wise. But the way they were jamming in like Mortal Kombat 3 in here because the Lin Kuei cyborgs show up. So again, it's kind of like, oh, can't we just do MK2 without having MK3 immediately start happening?
And that's the exact same way they started depicting it in Mortal Kombat 9. You know, they started showing like the Cyber Lin Kuei going on during the events of MK2. They sort of just mishmashed that together. Yeah, I get it. It was a lot going on. Did you get the feeling that maybe the animators felt they're not going to be able to do another one? This is their last animated Mortal Kombat story, so whatever they want to tell, whatever villains they want to introduce, this is the time to get it all out of the way.
Yeah, I definitely got that feeling about it, because it did seem like they're worried, all right, we might not be able to do these things in further movies, so let's all just jam it into this one. It's like, no, please, just like, I think if they'd taken their time and done a really great MK2 adaptation, like, you can have some elements from the other games pop in, but like, if they just focus the story better, I think this movie would be more appealing, and then you're more likely to get people wanting more sequels. Okay, let's see a good MK3 adaptation after this, and so on.
Yeah, let the MK2 story breathe a little bit, because as it is, it left a lot of fans wondering, how do you cram all that gram?
What is happening?
The end of the realms. Whoa.
I mean, honestly, I was getting a lot of notes of Batman v Superman.
That's not a great thing to be reminded of.
No, not at all, because Batman vs. Superman tried to cram way too many great storylines into one movie. So it's like Batman's origin, plus Batman comes out of retirement, plus people are still figuring out who Superman is, plus there's Doomsday, so there's the death and return of Superman. Plus, we're setting the seeds down for the formation of the Justice League. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Why do you try to take like these 10 different storylines that were all great on their own and try and mash them together and they're all happening at once? It couldn't make sense of it. That was a problem that I think this movie suffered from, although not to that degree.
No, but they were cramming in a lot of games things, like, especially right at the end. Oh yeah, remember Corrupted Shinnok? We got that in there, and then the Kami Dogu God Liu Kang from the last game. I don't think we need all this in here.
No, it was a lot. It was a lot. Like in the games, they introduced that whole time travel thing, you know, resetting the timeline, starting over and seeing the same events again and again. They're not going to do that here. They're not going to introduce Chronica. They're not going to have alternate timelines. They're not going to show you the same events. So whatever they show here, it's basically going to be, this is the one timeline for this series. It's going to be a mashup of like the old timeline from the games and the new timeline from the games. So what they did was they're like, all right, well, Raiden gives up his godhood and makes Liu Kang a god in MK11.
You will have to kill me.
I would rather save you.
But Raiden also gave up his godhood in the original timeline. So why don't we just kind of make it so that he gives up his godhood the same way, right? Where he wants to sacrifice himself to save the Earthrealm. And then at the end, Liu Kang gets god powers. They combined the old and the new very well, in my opinion. But it was a bit much. It could have benefited from having just a little bit less.
They set up, like, at the end of Scorpion's Revenge, Raiden tells Liu Kang, it wasn't your destiny to defeat Goro, it's your destiny to defeat Shao Kahn. And then Shao Kahn is not the final boss of the second movie, even. It's kind of like, they finish Shao Kahn, then we're like, oh yeah, anyway, Shinnok, go do that.
Your destiny was never to defeat Goro. It was to defeat Shao Kahn.
You have won the final Mortal Kombat.
You are awarded great power.
But we fear it may not be enough.
For what?
The one being.
Immediately forget about this Shao Kahn thing, which was 3/4 of the movie basically, and then suddenly Shinnok. The Shinnok thing was super confusing because, you know, this was key to the plot of the last movie, right? And it was supposed to free Shinnok.
He's been in prison for a reason, Quan Chi. Your sad devotion to the mad god Shinnok makes you as pathetic as he is.
We see Shinnok free immediately when he first shows up in this movie.
You've arrived. Now, we can begin.
So it's like, what? I thought this was supposed to free him, but no, he's just already wandering around Netherrealm at the start of this movie.
Now, this is the key to get into the Temple of Elements, which is from Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero, you'll recall. So how did they use the Temple of Elements? Well, now that's where the Earthrealm Kamidogu is contained. Like, all right, so this key gets into that building to get to the Kamidogu, which, by the way, is the last Kamidogu. Shinnok already had all the other pieces somehow. Couldn't have been Chujinko, couldn't have been Havoc, just he got him.
Yeah, skipped over a lot. I guess Chujinko was really not that important.
I have been a fool.
They did combine a lot of stuff, right? They combined the Kamidogu story, they combined the Shinnok and trying to release the One Being story, they combined MK2 and MK3. Feels like Armageddon, right? It did feel like this was the end of all the realms. It really was just like a huge mashup of a bunch of different games thrown into one. Even Li Mei was thrown in there.
Did you notice, like, they got confused who was in this movie? I looked on IMDb first, and I saw in the credits Melina. I'm like, Melina? I didn't see Melina in this movie. And then I thought, oh, that must have just been a mistake by whoever put the credits on IMDb. I looked at the actual credits of the movie. Sure enough, it says Melina was in there. They don't have Li Mei mentioned anywhere, Melina, so they got confused about which character they had in their movie. That was kind of sad.
Yeah, it should say Li Mei, shouldn't say Melina.
I like if you just look at the credits too, you're kind of like wondering what the hell's going on in this movie, because you see like Matthew Lillard as Shaggy. Like, what?
Get over here, man!
Ultra Instinct Shaggy comes along and you can see Scooby-Doo in the background watching him. That was awesome.
Like, get over here, man!
Shaggy for MK11, that was a meme for a hot minute. This was an homage to what the community was asking for.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing going on. All right.
Let's talk about the opening scene where the Tarkatans are attacking a random couple, but you kind of figure out that's Liu Kang's parents.
This movie continues like the ultra gore, like almost every time someone gets attacked. I don't mind it everywhere, but I feel like they could have held off a little in some spots. I don't know if we needed though the special babality Liu Kang.
You've got Raiden saving a baby, just like he did in the 21 film. He has to save a baby again. If Raiden isn't saving babies, then he's just not doing his job.
At least this time, I guess it's a baby of a character who's actually in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I mean, look, Raiden has a soft spot for babies. They remind him of Kid Thunder.
Whatever happened to Kid Thunder?
Oh, he grew up and now he's got a drug problem. Very sad.
Oh, hate to hear it.
Do you remember the bios from Mortal Kombat 1 that came with the collector's edition comic where they're like, Liu Kang has parents, Lin Kang and Li Kang, and they're deceased. And then there's his brother, Chao Kang, but his whereabouts are unknown. In the movie came out, it wasn't Chao, it was Chan.
Liu. Chan.
This is why he's raised by his grandfather. Because Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung actually had a smart idea. Try to kill the future champion of Mortal Kombat while he's a baby.
Where's Shao Kahn getting his spoilers?
Oh, I always kind of figured that they all had like magic powers and prophecy and they could kind of see the future and they kind of knew when there was a chosen one being born. I always kind of thought that that was sort of a gift that they all had.
Maybe he phoned up Kronika in this universe. Could you give me a hot tip on who might win Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I know. I remember this from previous timelines. It's going to be Liu Kang. Let's kill him.
I wish they either did more with Liu Kang in this movie or did not have him win. Especially having him win against Shao Kahn and Shinnok in the same movie. It was especially unnecessary to me. Liu Kang, he can be a bit of a Gary Stu. I was always annoyed reading, the official story of Mortal Kombat. It's like, who won Mortal Kombat 1? Liu Kang. Who won 2? Liu Kang. Who won 3? Liu Kang. It's like, enough. Let another character do something. That's what I liked about Scorpion's Revenge, because Scorpion kind of got the final kill on Goro, even if it was a bit cheaty. It was still Scorpion doing it. I would have been fine, like, if he beat, like, Shang Tsung. Like, give him one big victory, but it would have been cool if, like, I don't know, Scorpion or Kuai Liang Sub-Zero beat Shao Kahn. It's like, they had the most interesting thing going on, but then they kind of get sidelined near the end. They just kind of help out Liu Kang, and their story just kind of fizzles.
Get over here! I am everything. Impossible.
I wanted them to be more important because Liu Kang did not have a lot story-wise going on in a lot of this movie. He's just kind of on the sidelines, like, I'm probably gonna win, Raiden, so I don't even think you need to join Mortal Kombat. And oh no, Kung Lao, he sucks. He's gonna die for sure. I should be fighting instead of him.
Lord Raiden.
I am fine.
He can't.
Liu Kang, Mortal Kombat has been declared.
Did you declare Mortal Kombat?
Nope.
Did you declare Mortal Kombat? Great, then no one needs to die.
What about that thing at the end where Liu Kang found his animality, huh?
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
That reminded me too much of Annihilation.
What the fuck? Look at that!
He didn't even get trained by Nightwolf.
Yeah, I didn't need to get an axe thrown to his head to learn his animality.
It's my animality. Pretty cool, huh?
We don't have time for the slow way.
We don't have time for the slow way.
Animality.
Honestly, like that ending with just corrupted Shinnok fighting Dragon Liu Kang, it's kind of like, this is so far removed from anything. I'm like, what am I looking at right now? You need to have a lot of Mortal Kombat game knowledge to follow a lot of what's going on in this movie. It's like, I watched this movie with Allison, and by the point where it got to like all that, she was completely lost on what was going on. All right, well, we got this, the Kamidogu, that's from Deception. They got the corrupted Shinnok from Mortal Kombat 10, that's what's going on. God, Liu Kang's from Mortal Kombat 11. They're suddenly merging the realms. This is Mortal Kombat 3.
Yep, it was notes of everything just mashed together. But hey, at least they had Liu Kang beat Shinnok and not, I don't know, Cassie Cage.
I guess it's too early in their timeline for any Cassie Cage.
That means by the time there is a Cassie Cage, corrupted Shinnok is not really going to be an issue anymore. Neither is Shao Kahn. I don't know who's going to be left for her to fight, really. They haven't had Onaga, so maybe they could make her Cassie the Dragon Slayer?
So, Reptile's dead, so who can Onaga possess?
Yeah, I don't know what Onaga could do either because the Kamidogu storyline has already been done.
Maybe there was a Shijinko in this universe, and then all of a sudden Shinnok just stole all the Kamidogu. He's like, guess my plan's out the window.
So what did you think about the Elder Gods characters in this movie? Like, the Elder Gods were never really seen in the Mortal Kombat games, you know, until they introduced Cetrion, I guess.
It was a little funny, Raiden and Shao Kahn going together and be like, all right, let's go bug the Elder Gods, see if we can do this Mortal Kombat and wrap things up.
What do you propose? A final tournament.
And the protector of Earthrealm agrees?
Yes.
I'll be honest, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Normally, you see Raiden go to the Elder Gods. Maybe he brings Liu Kang with him. Never imagined going with Shao Kahn, like the two of them together. That was unexpected, and it was a good twist.
You would be wise to know your place and respect the gods.
And become a spineless whelp such as yourself?
Shao Kahn is pretty amicable in a lot of parts of this movie, like doing that, and then when they all go to his Shao Kahn's arena for the Mortal Kombat tournament, he's like, all right, you guys are like free to roam around and stuff.
None shall be harmed outside of the tournament itself. You may roam freely within the fortress.
We're having this nice little Mortal Kombat. It's kind of weird too when Shao Kahn decides to throw out the finish them or just go, match over. They got knocked down.
Winner, Devora. Finish him.
Sometimes that's good enough.
That was a big gripe I had. Johnny Cage got taken out by Devora, which is like, all right. I know Cage and Devora kind of had like a thing against each other in MKX, but she didn't finish him. And that's like Shao Kahn's whole thing.
Shao Kahn fights Jax at one point too, and then he's just like, he hits him over and he's like, all right, match done.
Yeah, it's like he wasn't really trying that hard to kill the good guys this time around. That was a little off to me.
It was weird too. Before Liu Kang's mother dies, she tells Raiden, let him know he was loved.
Tell him he was loved.
Raiden holds on to this one for a long time because he does not tell Liu Kang his parents loved him right until he's about to die.
Your parents loved you, Liu Kang.
I don't know if you need to hold on to that like as a big secret, Raiden. You can probably be like, yo, your birth parents loved you.
Save it for when he's just about to die. That'll give him the motivation that he needs to come back to life. In the 1995 film, you know, it was the death of Chan that sort of spurred him on. Now, they always just kill off Kung Lao to do that.
I thought Kung Lao's death was pretty weak, much like Mortal Kombat 2021. It was a little weird because, like, he gets hit with his own hat in the chest. Like, he's about to be split in half, and Liu Kang's still kind of watching, like, let's see how this goes. He might pull through this, and then it's not until, like, Shao Kahn rips him in half. He's like, no!
Fatality.
No! I think he was done for before we got to that point, Liu Kang. I don't think he was pulling that together. After he goes like, oh, Kung Lao, like, there's not a mention of him again.
I still think I prefer this one, though, to him getting his neck snapped. Like, come on.
You see, Raiden? Earthrealm is free.
You didn't even throw in, though, like a fatality for Kung Lao.
Fatality for Kung Lao.
Yeah, exactly. Fatality
for Kung Lao.
Fatality for Kung Lao.
They were doing the battle at the Wuxi Academy at the beginning. You know what confused me about that is, like, they had Oni with the Tarkata, and, like, this is continuing us that weird Netherrealm Outworld alliance is going on in this timeline, but you would have thought that would have been broken by the end of Scorpion's Revenge because it was revealed Quan Chi was operating his own agenda trying to resurrect Shinnok.
Some of those Oni didn't get the memo.
Yeah, I guess.
What did you think about the fact that, like, Stryker just shows up and they're like, who's this guy? Jackson's like, oh yeah, I picked up a straggler.
You're late. I picked up a straggler. Stryker, Kung Lao.
Does that thing have wings? Did I shoot something with wings? What the hell is going on?
He's new.
Everybody hates Stryker!
That's like, damn it, Stryker. We need Stryker. But you know what I love about this movie is they kill Stryker. If you're gonna throw in a Mortal Kombat character to die, make it be Stryker.
That's right. Stryker deserved it.
almost as much as Su-Hao.
Stryker was like the Su-Hao of his day. You know, when MK3 first came out and Stryker was like the new guy, nobody liked him.
No, he was crappy replacement Johnny Cage.
It is fun to see him and Johnny Cage interact in this, though.
A tournament? Like a, what, karate tournament?
It's a whole thing. I'll explain later.
They're retreating!
Calm down, Stryker. Yes, they are.
Stryker's never been my favorite character, but like if you're gonna kill him, try to give him a bit more character things so it matters within your movie. That's the problem I had with a lot of bits in this. It's like they were killing off some characters left and right, and a lot of it fell flat because unless you know a lot of these characters from the games, just within this movie's universe, they don't give you a lot to care about.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen much of Stryker in any continuity outside of this. It was just this and Defenders of the Realm.
Wild animals have no business being pets.
Sub-Zero is a friend. Stryker, on the other hand,
he wasn't even here to complain about Kiva and how those things have all sorts of diseases. Like, he didn't get to be the germaphobe.
They couldn't even get Nightwolf off the computer in this movie to come help with Mortal Kombat.
His computer must have been going nuts when like 6 realms are merging at once.
We've got to rip.
Fucking Windows 98, get Bill Gates in here. It wasn't just Baraka led the attack against Liu Kang's temple. There was really a lot to unpack. I mean, it was an all-out war zone.
It's kind of funny because Katana is leading this assault, and I thought Liu Kang had convinced her to switch sides in Scorpion's revenge, but I guess not. And here she is killing a bunch of people from Liu Kang's temple, so you'd think that might put a bit of a damper on a future relationship for those two.
Johnny Cage seems to have an easier time winning over Sonya than Liu Kang does.
There's amusing Johnny Cage bits in this movie, but I felt they could have used a couple more sincere Johnny Cage moments, because he's a bit too removed from his situations at times. Like when he loses to Devora and he's still just cracking jokes and stuff.
Are you okay?
I think so. I could use
What?
some mouth to mouth.
Ugh.
Ow!
Alright, but this is a little more serious. I feel like this moment could have used a little more serious Johnny Cage. Just balance it out a little more. You don't need him wisecracking all the time.
Yeah, you would think that losing to Devora and realizing that Shao Kahn could take over the realm might put a damper on his mood, but nah.
Yeah, I could have just used a couple more times. Like, I still want him wisecracking and stuff. Just be a little serious a couple more times. More like Lyndon Ashby, Johnny Cage.
Yes. But I did like the whole chemistry between him and Sonya. I really liked the whole thing where she kept saying he's not my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend is weak.
She's defending my honor.
He's not my boyfriend.
Is that from another Mortal Kombat thing?
In Shaolin Monks, there was this whole thing with Liu Kang and Katana, and Liu Kang was like, Katana's not my girlfriend.
It is Reptile. We find him. Maybe we find your girlfriend. Katana is not my girlfriend.
Right, that's what I'm thinking of, yes.
Raiden's voice, it really sounded like a blend between Christopher Lambert and Richard Epcar. It really sounded like right in between those two, and I don't even know how you can go for that, but he did it.
You have long straddled the fence between light and dark, Hanzo. It is time you pick a side.
The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
Our time has run out. I do what I must to save Earthrealm.
At one point, Johnny Cage calls Jax the Jack Attack.
Listen, Jack Attack.
And like, that was something we did in Mortal Comedy. We call him the Jax Attack. He didn't say,
"The Jax Attacks is back, baby!"
I remember that skit.
They keep doing like the X-ray smashes in this movie. During that Wuxi Academy battle, Sonya comes in and like smashes Jade in the skull with her rifle, and you see like half of Jade's skull cracking. And then she's still in the Mortal Kombat tournament at Shao Kahn's a little bit later. I'm like, I thought she was dead.
It's just your skull getting shattered. No big deal. You bounce right back. You know what I really wanted to see? The fight between Liu Kang and Jade. I wanted to see him kill her and then Katana say, "That was my best friend and you killed her."
You killed her. She was my best friend and you killed her.
Yeah. Oops.
That would have made more sense here than it did in Shaolin Monks. And yet he'll still win Katana over somehow.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to come back from that one.
So what was your favorite scene out of the entire film?
The Scorpion and Sub-Zero stuff when they finally team up, because that's one of my favorite parts of Mortal Kombat story, I think, was just the fact that Kuai Liang and Scorpion kind of team up after the death of Bi-Han, and they kind of reconcile that.
I will never forgive you. Neither will I.
I really like seeing all that. I just wish it was more focused in this movie, because it does kind of get thrown to the wayside, and that's the best story going on, which is why I thought, much like Scorpion's Revenge, this could have used more just a focus on Scorpion rather than just suddenly jumping into Liu Kang heavy stuff, even though he has not done a lot character-wise in the movie.
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer of a movie to kind of let those scenes breathe a little bit. Because I'm with you. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the fight between them, it was awesome. It even reminded me of MK Annihilation, and yet somehow it was still awesome. Suckers! Scorpion was actually able to get through to him. Scorpion was able to say, look, I'm sorry, but don't become consumed by revenge. Hate me if you want to, but look, these guys are monsters and they're after the Kamidogu. Don't let them get it. Earth is in jeopardy, and I'm not lying. This is 100% true. Look.
It's interesting Scorpion is like the voice of reason.
Your thirst for vengeance will disappear along with all of reality. I don't care. Yes, you do. That's what makes you different.
And I do kind of like that take on him rather, well, a lot more than just him being generic bad guy.
By all the powers of evil, I will not rest until I have my revenge.
Scorpion is supposed to be a more complex character than that. If they had cut out all the Shinnok bits and had Scorpion and Sub-Zero, their team up, factor more into the end, I would have liked this movie a lot more.
They would have to cut it differently, but I think that's right. And then they could have set up Shinnok the same way they set him up at the end of MK9, you know? The Earthrealm is fine, but now with Shao Kahn out of the way, the key to Earthrealm will be mine.
They didn't actually do anything to free him yet, so like the fact he's just out and about in Netherrealm made no sense. They could have still built that up and then, you know, sequel baited with that.
You go back to the first film where they're looking for Shinnok and Quan Chi's like, oh, he's indisposed at the moment. It's like, okay, so where the hell was he?
Shinnok is indisposed.
I mean, he's just a few feet away from me, but you know.
In this continuity with the MK Legends, Sub-Zero, Bi-Han, was actually innocent. He's not the one who took out Hanzo. So when Scorpion got his revenge and killed Sub-Zero, he was basically killing an innocent man. I think that's why this version of Scorpion and the way he needs to get along and make it up to Sub-Zero is very different from how it would be if it were in the games. In the games, he could always say, look, your brother was a killer. He killed me. He killed my family. He deserved it.
This is like the nicest version of Bi-Han in any of the Mortal Kombat continuities. And yeah, that makes sense too why I guess Kuai Liang is probably the angriest we've seen him about killing his brother. So that works because this is the best version of Bi-Han. So it makes sense for Kuai Liang to be angrier at Scorpion for that.
It was different than the traditional Mortal Kombat story, but it was still fun to watch.
Come. It's time to find redemption.
Like you said, it was a little bit crammed. So that brings me to my next question. What was your least favorite scene in the whole movie?
The whole corrupted Shinnok bit. It's jamming too much from a bunch of games all at once, and the story was mostly focused on doing the Shao Kahn tournament, and just having that shoved in there right at the end, just it was too much, and I felt it unfocused the movie and would probably make a lot of people not understand what's going on.
They set it up for a grand finale, but it didn't really flow from the story that had been mostly told. The only real hints that we got were some scenes with Shinnok in the beginning, setting Scorpion free.
Shinnok tells the Oni, hey, go get that guy. He ran off. And then this one Oni's like, we suck though. He'll get away from us. He's like, well then call someone else. Like, who are you gonna call? Lin Kuei.
I was gonna say Ghostbusters.
Lin Kuei are like the Shirei Ryu busters. I thought it was a little weird too. They shove in the cyborg plot in this movie, but the Grandmaster calls Smoke and Sub-Zero in, tells them the whole plan, like, hey, you guys need to go find Scorpion and stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna turn you into cyborgs. Couldn't you have just sped this up if you just tried to ambush them, turn them into cyborgs? Then you don't need to bother telling them all this, because you could just have it programmed into them like Sector and Cyrax. What do you think of Sector and Cyrax kind of being like Borg in this one, where they can just assimilate people?
Resistance will be met with extreme force.
That was not my favorite part. I prefer the way they showed it in Defenders of the Realm, where You have to get them into an operating table, and you actually have to do like a big surgical procedure. It's not just, I touch you and you're a cyber. If that were the case, the whole Earth would be nothing but cybers. It would just spread like zombies.
And that was another weak point of this where, you know, they assimilate Smoke. Sub-Zero says smoke once, and he's really not that broken up about it after that.
Their friendship didn't really get to blossom as much as they showed like in Defenders of the Realm.
You must try and remember, we were friends.
Defenders of the Realm even did this better, I thought, of Sub-Zero caring about Smoke and wanting to redeem him after he's been turned into a cyborg.
That whole redemption plot was totally lost here.
I thought they threw away a bit too many important characters, like Raiden and Sector Cyrax. Like, all these things have the makings for a good story to tell on their own rather than be shoved into this with so much going on. Just focus on something. Like, I would have loved it if this was just a Scorpion Sub-Zero movie about that whole thing. You can have Mortal Kombat 2 going on, much like how Scorpion's Revenge did the MK1 tournament going on, but it was mostly a story about Scorpion. I would have liked if they'd taken that formula and kind of ran with it more than just focusing a lot on random battles at Shao Kahn's that don't mean a lot, because half of them are people we either don't know at all or don't know that well within the movie's universe. Of course, we know them as Mortal Kombat characters, but just with the, as in the movie, you don't know that much.
So I think what you're saying is the way to fix this movie would be actually show what happened to Shinnok. Show some way to free him. Maybe actually use that key for a different purpose. After that, don't worry about him. Just show the Mortal Kombat 2 tournament. That whole thing about Scorpion and Kuai Liang and wanting revenge, have them settle that at the tournament along with everybody else. Maybe vary it up a little bit and show more backgrounds. They could have shown like the Deadpool. They could have shown the Armory. They could have tried to work those backgrounds into the story a little bit more, kind of like they did in MK9. But then ultimately settle it up at Khan's Arena and have Liu Kang defeat Shao Kahn and have Scorpion and Sub-Zero have already resolved their differences by then, and Raiden congratulates them, and maybe he could end the movie by getting promoted to an Elder God instead of Liu Kang getting promoted to a God.
Yeah, I mean, they even did that in Scorpion's Revenge, where it's like Shang Tsung's like, okay, the tournament's starting, and then he kind of teleports people to a bunch of different locations to have the tournament battles at. Like, he could have done a similar thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I think they could have worked more backgrounds into the story like that. But yeah, a few tweaks, this could have been the perfect Mortal Kombat 2 adaptation.
It is a shame, because I liked Scorpion's Revenge a lot more than this one, and I feel like it's way more accessible for people just watching if they aren't as familiar with all the different Mortal Kombat lore, because I feel like this one would lose a lot of people.
Yeah, you have to really be familiar with the Mortal Kombat characters and the lore, and if you are, you can see how much they're deviating from the original, and I can see that that takes away from a lot of people's enjoyment. Like I said, for me personally, I don't mind the deviations from the lore. I like seeing the new twists and turns and the new adventures, but it was a bit much, it was a bit crammed, and they should have let the stories breathe just a little bit more instead of trying to fit too much at once, Batman vs Superman style.
I hope if there is a sequel to this, they learn a bit and focus it a little bit more, because there's still a lot of elements I liked of the animated universe they've created here. Just don't jam in like 5 game stories into one movie.
This movie doesn't look too friendly. This bootleg is so fake. That toy is gonna break. Thanos, don't let me down. You need to be around. Grab that chocolate pizza. I live a life because I want. Fail us, so fail us. Bring on Mortal Comedy. Fail us, so fail us. An animation movie. Fail us, so fail us. What really is so fun? Fail us, so fail us. What's your opinion about?
My suspicion would be there would be a civil war in Outworld, kind of like the MKX story, right? Like, well, Shao Kahn's gone, the Shinnok threat is over, what's left? So, Outworld's torn in a civil war. Is it going to be Melina, or is it going to be Kotal?
Or it could be Raiko, everyone's favorite. No Raiko. Reiko died anyway, which is all he needs to do.
Yeah, no, they had Reiko in this film, and it was good, but that whole thing about him wanting to be like a Shao Kahn wannabe.
It is time for you to take your brother's place. The mantle of Sub-Zero is yours.
No. Well, that's just prime.